Hello and welcome to the garage. This is going to be my first official video in my first line of business. Unfortunately, probably not going to be a video that's going to follow what I intended for this channel, which is to show some equipment, answer some questions, show specific details that I was curious about. It's more so going to be my first line of business. As you might have seen in my intro video, I got that brand new John Deere X580, and my first line of business now is going to be getting rid of the old D105. So in this video, I'm going to get it cleaned up for sale. One thing I see a lot of people when they go to sell stuff like this, they don't put any effort into making it look pretty. And I feel like if you're wanting to, get a good price out of it, you might as well put a little bit of work in just to make sure it's all cleaned up and looking good for the future owner. So yeah, let's jump into it. All right, now as you can see, this machine's actually in pretty good looking shape for its age. This is, I believe, a 2015. I bought it used. It had like 32 hours on it. It was used by an older guy, and I guess he got to where he wasn't able really to get out and cut his grass himself anymore. So the dealer he got it from, he had them sell it for him, and I picked it up. I got it, I think, 2017, so it was about 2 years old with 30 some odd hours. Felt like it was a pretty good deal. So there shouldn't be too terribly much we have to do. Just a few simple things, vacuuming off the deck, wiping the deck down, things like that. Aside from like a little cut in the seat there, this thing is in good shape, so it should clean up pretty well. I'm gonna start off on the deck here. So first thing I'm gonna do is take it out completely. That way I can get into it, wipe it all down, grease the spindles, do all that stuff. So first thing I'm gonna do is lower it all the way down. Next step, on either side, there's a little cotter pin in there you gotta pull out. Use a pair of pliers, makes it a little bit easier to get on there, pull it out. Next is a pin under the front of the deck. That one can sometimes be a little tricky. You gotta push up on one side of it, and it'll pop out. Be careful you don't lose the washer that's there too. Under each side, there's also a cotter pin under the linkage for the deck lever. Pull that out. At this point, you can pull off the washer from the rear mount. And it's a little heavy, but you can pull that off. And you can also disconnect the linkage for the lift lever. Just remember, all these linkages have a washer on them. You want to make sure that you don't lose that when you're disassembling. From here, our last one comes out pretty easy. And then also from there, just take your belt and pull that off the wheel. From here, we can slide the deck out from under the machine till about here. We still have the PTO engagement line here. There's a spring in here. Gotta work that off before you pull out the deck all the way. I don't know how well you can see, but it has this kind of weird crook shape in it. It's not like a typical hook, so you basically just need to bend the spring up like that, and you'll be able to lift it out. There's a cotter pin where it comes through a metal bracket on the deck, and then you can pull this out completely free of the deck. And that's how you pull out the deck on a 100 series tractor. Now I'm mostly going to vacuum this off for now. I'll wipe it down, and I may or may not get into painting up an area that I see over there under the deck chute. There's a little bit of rust on it. The paint's kind of flaking off. I might touch that up. We'll see what I get into. But for now, I'm just going to remove masses of leaves and grass that have been stuck in there since the last mowing season. Get that all kind of out of the way so the leaves aren't clogging up the vacuum. Just get the majority of the buildup out. And then from here, we'll get into taking off the covers for the spindles. So if you look under the spindle right here, you can see there's a grease fitting. There's one on each side, one on each of the main spindles. Make sure you wipe it off just in case there's any old grease filled with debris on top of it. You don't want to inject any kind of grease into there that has any kind of dust or sand or what have you, depending on your area, dirt. You don't want to get that inside those spindles. So got a grease gun here. I just use the standard red heavy duty grease. This is specifically the Valvoline synthetic. So we'll just push that on there and we'll put a couple pumps of grease in there. Nothing crazy, just enough to get some fresh grease in there. There's that. And we'll just take a rag or cloth, whatever you have, paper towel. Try to wipe off any excess grease. And we're good to go. Do that to the other side and we'll be done with greasing. The one thing I forgot, blades. We need to sharpen blades, of course, before putting this deck back on. Figured the easiest way to do it would be when it's not under the mower. Normally I would do this under the mower. It's not too bad to get under there. Just have the deck lifted all the way up. You can usually wedge a 4x4 like this, maybe a 2x4, depending on what you need. I can wedge it in there to get the blade stopped enough to where I can get in there and get the nut off the bottom and get the blade out. But while it's out from under the mower, it's easy to just tilt the deck up. And then with a 4x4 like this, it's pretty easy. Just set it in the deck like that. You can kneel on it. And then the blade will come, it'll turn around until it hits that 4x4. And then from there, you can put your pressure on it and that nut will break loose. I already loosened this one. From there, we'll just take that nut the rest of the way off. It's just a nut, big washer. This is a cupped washer. I've always put it back on with the cup side towards the blade. It's just the way it came off the first time I did anything with blades. So that's just the way I've done it ever since. So this is the blade. You can see it's got some chips in it. I've seen a lot worse. But yeah, we'll get that sharpened right up. Get this one off. There's our other blade. This one, of course, has some chips in it too. This happens, a little yellow paint from when I was painting the deck. Those chips happen, but we can get that touched up. So now we'll move on over to the belt grinder and grind these things down. All right, so I got the deck all cleaned up, vacuumed out. Got my blades back here, got all my hardware. We're just gonna put these blades back on. So one thing you don't need to worry about the orientation of the two blades to each other. These blades will never hit each other by the design of the deck. If you actually look at the deck from the top, it's angled the way that it sits on the mower. That way one blade is slightly forward and it kind of overlaps the other one, which is how you get a full 42-inch cutting path, yet the blades will never touch. And I'll show you that once I get this on here. I always thought that there was a certain orientation that these had to be to one another, and that if they didn't go on the proper way, that you'd have problems down the road. You want to make sure that when you put these on, this lip is pointed downwards. If you put it on the opposite way, it's going to create an effect where it pushes air down, and actually it'll push the grass out of the way and not really cut it. So we don't want to do that. Make sure I put my hardware on the right way. Start that nut. And then tighten them down. Gotta go on a little further. And then we'll bring this around until it hits our wood block again. And we can put some torque on it. Good to go. Come over here. Good to go. All right, so if you can see, these blades will not hit each other in the center. No matter which way you move these, they will not touch. So it doesn't matter how these are oriented. You can put these blades on either way. No matter where that little keyed pattern is there, doesn't really matter. So yeah, there we go. Got our blades back on. Now we'll get the spindle covers back on and get this back under the mower. One other quick tip of something I like doing. There's a spring in here on each side that holds the blade brake down to the pulley. This is so when you disengage your PTO, this brake pad will push against the spindle and it'll stop the blades. If that were to break, you could run into a situation where your blades won't stop, and that can be dangerous. So I just like putting a little WD-40 into that spring. That way, keeps it from corroding, it'll help it last a little longer and avoid an unsafe situation. So just do that to each side. That'll just help prolong that a little bit. All right, that's that. Let's get our spindle covers back on. All right, just gonna put a little bit of white lithium grease under these two arms. And then we'll put some under these arms where that goes into the deck. Anywhere you have metal-to-metal contact, you want to put some kind of lubrication on it just to keep it from wearing away too much. From here, we can slide the deck back under the mower. So first, just make sure grass shoots down. Make sure if your hardware is laying on the ground, move that out of the way. Slide the deck on, and you can hook up your spring again remember. Goes in through there. And then there's that spring that you gotta hook back. Just remember that weird angle we had to take it out at. You gotta kind of bend that again to get it back in. Might be easier to put that on first and then put this part back on the outside, just like so. You have one of your cotter pins. Slide that back over, holds it in. Now your deck's connected for the PTO lever. We're gonna slide the deck in the rest of the way. Now we're gonna connect this front arm and we're gonna put the belt back on. So the front arm, you're just gonna put that through that front lower hole. Then you have a washer and that goofy clip. We're gonna put our washer back on. And then we're gonna put that clip back through. Goes back on a little easier than it comes off. Just like so. From there, put the belt back on over that little arm, get it around the pulley, and go to your other side. Put it over the arm on that side, and you have your belt back on. You can now rotate this up and lift the deck back onto the deck lift lever. From there, big washer goes on, and then your bigger cotter pin, go back through, and that's on. Do that to the other side, and you have your deck halfway back on. Now you got this last arm on either side that just goes up, and there's a pin that it hooks on. Trying to do this one-handed. Make sure you don't sandwich that line in there. Got it on like that. Put our washer on. And then you have one more cotter pin. We'll go in there. All right, from here, now that we've got all our linkages back on, take a little bit more of that white lithium. I'm just gonna put that on the rest of our contacts. Can test for operation. Lifts and lowers good. You can see there's some slack in the belt. If I engage the PTO, it's tighter, good to go. Let it off, got our slack again. So at this point, we got our deck back on. Looks quite a bit better than it did. It's clean for the most part. Obviously some of this wear we're not really gonna be able to get rid of without taking it down completely and repainting the whole thing. But as far as touch-ups go, looks quite a bit better. There's no grass pieces, leaves, anything like that laying under there. And now you know how to take the deck off a 100 series tractor. This could also be applied for the most part to most any other brand out there. They're gonna have similar lift systems like that. For the most part, they're pretty simple. So well, I hope this video was very informative for you. I hope it helped. Of course, ask as many questions as you want. I'll try to answer what I can. Appreciate you watching. I'm probably going to make this a multi-part series on cleaning the rest up. We're just going to cut this off at deck removal and deck installation / cleaning, blade sharpening, that kind of thing. So stay tuned for cleaning up the rest of the tractor. Thank you. Have a good one.